If you feel like you're constantly being overlooked despite being the nice guy, you need to stop treating people-pleasing like a virtue. We often think being agreeable makes us a good person, but the Stoics like Marcus Aurelius saw it very differently. To them, being too nice wasn't actually kindness, it was a form of social cowardice where you trade your integrity for a lack of conflict. You aren't being noble when you say yes to things you secretly hate, because you're really just afraid of the friction that comes with standing your ground. This persona is a mask used to avoid the discomfort of a no, but it comes with a massive cost to your reputation. When you prioritize everyone else's comfort over your own truth, you lose their respect, and eventually you lose your own. The reason you feel undervalued isn't because people are inherently mean, it's because you haven't set a price on your soul yet. In this video, I'm showing you 7 rules to flip the script and gain instant respect. If you don't master this, you'll simply be a footnote in someone else's story. Rule 1. Master the art of the no. Stoicism teaches us that our most valuable resource isn't money or status. It's our time and our assent. Your assent is your internal agreement to how you spend your life, and it's the only thing you truly own. When you say yes to every favor and every boring event, your yes becomes completely worthless because it's always guaranteed. People don't respect the person who is always available. They respect the person who knows the weight of their own time. To fix this, you need to practice the elegant refusal by providing a clear, firm boundary without offering a mountain of excuses. Stop explaining yourself. When you over-explain why you can't do something, it sends a submissive signal that your boundary is up for debate. A simple, "I can't make that work," is more than enough to maintain your authority. Rule 2. Speak only when it adds value. Zeno, the man who started Stoicism, used to say we have 2 ears and 1 mouth because we're meant to listen twice as much as we talk. If you struggle with being too nice, you probably find yourself babbling or making pointless small talk just to kill an awkward silence. This usually comes from a deep-seated need to keep everyone around you happy, but high-status people are actually fine with a quiet room. They don't feel like they're auditioning for the group's approval, and they certainly don't feel the need to perform. When you stop talking just to fill the air, your words start to carry a lot more weight. You should think of your speech like a currency where the value drops the more you print, so you want to keep that supply low. The goal is to make sure that when you finally do open your mouth, you're saying something that actually helps or adds meaning to the conversation. If you can master this, people will start leaning in when you speak because they know you aren't the type to waste your breath. Just remember that this kind of silence only works if it's backed by your own internal sense of what's right. Rule 3. Define your unnegotiables. Epictetus taught us that while we can't control the actions of others, we have total power over our own character and how we react. In any social circle, respect actually comes from being predictable, which means people need to know exactly where you've drawn your line in the sand. If you don't make it clear what you stand for, people will naturally assume you'll go along with just about anything. You need to take a moment to list 3 specific things you will never tolerate, like being lied to or being disrespected in front of others, and then commit to walking away the second someone crosses that line. Being the nice guy usually involves moving your boundaries to make other people comfortable, but that just tells the world you don't have a solid core. You don't have to be mean or aggressive when you set these limits, you just have to be completely unmovable. When you stay consistent about what you'll accept, people eventually learn exactly how to treat you. This isn't about trying to change who they are, but rather about clearly defining the space you occupy. Rule 4. Stop seeking validation. Marcus Aurelius once pointed out how strange it is that we love ourselves more than anyone else, yet we still value a stranger's opinion over our own. When you act nice, just to fish for a compliment or a thank you, you are essentially handing your leash to someone else and letting them decide if you've had a good day. Real respect is just a byproduct of being self-sufficient, so it should never be the actual goal of your interactions. You need to shift your internal focus away from wondering if they like you and start asking if you actually approve of your own actions. People have a sixth sense for when someone is performing for their approval, and that behavior immediately lowers your social status because it looks desperate. When you act according to your own principles, regardless of the praise or criticism you get, you project a calm confidence that naturally draws people toward you. Rule 5. Embrace necessary conflict. The Stoic virtue of courage isn't just for soldiers on a battlefield, because it belongs at the dinner table, in the boardroom, and within your friend group too. Avoiding a difficult conversation is a classic short-term gain, long-term pain strategy that might save you 5 minutes of awkwardness today while destroying your reputation for integrity over the next 5 years. Standing your ground on a point of truth feels incredibly uncomfortable in the moment, but you have to realize that discomfort is just the price of admission for respect. Think of conflict as a stress test for your relationships, much like how an engineer tests a bridge to see if it can actually hold weight. The connections that break because you spoke your truth weren't worth keeping in the first place, while the ones that survive will be 10 times stronger because they are built on honesty rather than a fake facade. Moving forward, we also have to look at how you handle yourself when things go wrong, especially when it's actually your fault. Rule 6. Own your flaws before others can. A true Stoic is always the first person in the room to admit when they have messed up. This happens because their ego isn't tied to being seen as perfect, but rather to being honest with themselves and others. The too nice person often tries to hide the serious mistakes or smooth them over because they are terrified of disappointing people, but that behavior actually looks weak and shifty once the truth inevitably comes out. Extreme ownership is the ultimate power move in any social or professional environment, and it effectively takes the ammunition right out of your critic's hands. When you stop being defensive and simply state the facts of your failure, you become practically untouchable. The key is to apologize exactly once, fix the problem immediately, and then move on with your day. You should never grovel for forgiveness or keep bringing the mistake up once it is settled. Respect comes from the strength to stand tall even when you are wrong, which is a much more powerful position than hiding behind excuses. Rule 7. Value your own time above all. Seneca famously observed that while people are usually frugal with their money, they are incredibly wasteful with their time. If you let people constantly interrupt your deep work, or if you allow them to drag you into pointless office drama, you are telling them that your time is essentially free. You are teaching everyone around you that your life has no specific direction or value. To gain respect, you must treat your daily schedule like a guarded fortress. This doesn't mean being rude to your colleagues, but it does mean being firm about your availability and your boundaries. When you show that you respect your own time, the rest of the world has no choice but to follow suit. This is the final piece of the puzzle that turns niceness into actual virtue, because it shows you have a purpose that is more important than just being liked by everyone you meet. You've spent years playing the nice guy role, but today you start the process of becoming a man people actually respect. This shift isn't about turning into a jerk, because true respect comes from being a person of substance who knows how to set a firm boundary. Your challenge for the next 48 hours is simple, and all you have to do is say no to one single request that doesn't align with your personal goals. If you are ready to stop being a doormat, comment, "I am unmovable" below. To see how this mindset fits into your morning routine, watch this next video on Stoic discipline.